This is what darts can deliver. Age against youth. Experience against
39.
someone who's just getting started. But when it comes to form on the day, they can meet in the middle.
Gary Anderson, just to emphasise your point, is 53 now. Connor Scott, 28. But there's no
58.
balance given or no head start given just because you're younger and you haven't got the experience. You've got to get on with it. And Gary Anderson has been at the top of this sport for
137.
2 decades or more. And he's still there. It's amazing, really, when you see him play like this, how he's outside the world's top 16 ranked players.
That's a frightening prospect. But that's maybe by design.
130.
Because he doesn't play everything. He played European Tour darts at the start of the year, but he will not play European darts at the end of the season.
61.
But he will be at the European Championship.
Well, great start from Connor Scott here to leave. Double top after a dozen darts thrown in the opener on the Anderson throw.
60.
Connor's in his second final after being in a final with Radek Sagansky last year.
No score.
Well, I presume that Connor decided to bust that by going for the single 20. It was a bit of a risky play.
128.
Don't be fooled by Gary's slow start.
Game shot.
He can speed up. And he might have to, because Scott is someone, when he gets a lead, he can protect it, no matter who it's against. He has a level this year in a completed game of an average over 120.
63.
Thank you.
Not many people can say they've done that this year, but I'll tell you somebody else who can. Gary Anderson. He's gone over 123.
43.
Longer game, of course, longest game of the day in terms of potential legs. First to 8
58.
now, first to 6 all the way through, semi-final first to 7, now the extension to first to 8, which in theory should favour Gary Anderson, who would be the favourite for this game, was the favourite for the game, still is the favourite for the game, and a much higher ranked player. But
57.
we know anything can happen in one game, one darts match.
They've only played each other twice.
60.
Once this year, which Gary won. And last year, a game that Connor won in a quarter-final.
93.
And both of them were over the best of 11 legs. Like Rod mentioned, this is just a little bit longer, which, in theory, should favour Gary more.
That's the theory. Looks good here, Anderson, for the immediate break back.
140.
Low, double 18. Left the ball and
92.
has got himself within finishing range.
Does he stay on that line? Yes. Double 5.
85.
Very aggressive from Scott. And this is a double that Anderson leaves a bit more these days than he previously did. And there's a reason for it.
16.
But it doesn't work this time.
Well, the split of the 5, sorry.
No score.
And that is inexcusable, I'm afraid, at this level. And it's going to cost him 2 darts at a double. And it will cost him the leg if Anderson hits double 8. If Anderson hits double 8.
8.
Hasn't.
Well, I'm surprised, Rod. Those 3 darts are double 8.
No score.
As he gets another look here, Anderson. The darts at double 8 weren't close. But now Scott has bust 5 twice. He could have had 6 darts in the last 2 visits. He's had 2.
Could have gone 3 for double 1. He didn't, and it's
Game
cost
shot.
him the leg. But he went for the same method as he utilised in the first attempt, going 1 for double 2. and on both occasions strayed across the wire into the single 20 and busted his score, costing himself 2 at double twice. And in the end, Anderson, despite
96.
missing half a dozen more double himself, still got over the line and levelled the match up at 1 leg apiece. We've seen
43.
back-to-back breaks.
Not the kind of averages you would expect to see in this quality final, but there's still time yet.
99.
Well, the gruffiness at the back end of the leg from both players, though the second leg that is, have dragged the averages right
58.
down to levels that you would rarely see in a professional game.
84.
And Gary won his first Players' Championship back in May of 2009, beating Mervyn
100.
King in a final. That wasn't his first final. He was in one about 2 months before that where he lost to Phil Taylor.
98.
But 15 and a half years later, 28 wins later, amongst other things,
180.
he is still trying to teach the younger generation how to do it. Is this how you do it?
99.
Not quite.
120 here for Scott Tops. Oh,
Game
brilliant.
shot.
Cheers, guys.
Well, for all that faffing around at the back of the last leg trying to finish 5, he finishes 120 with some aplomb.
That's darts in a nutshell. Not supposed to be easy. Some people who can drain
91.
a 50-foot putt, but can't hold it from 2 feet. It's the same sort of thing. Some people can play spin, they can't play pace.
Mysteries of human inconsistencies. Is why the game
140.
or the sport of darts or any sport really is so fascinating to watch. There's nothing predictable about anything.
60.
Trying to force it over the top and left it short in the end, couldn't get it through.
I've always said, Rod, that the ability to forget something as little as
55.
90 seconds ago, it's a huge thing to have in this sport.
Indeed, because we know you can't affect the past, you can only affect the future. There's no point in dwelling on things, but it's easy to say that. It's
47.
much more difficult to do it, Paul, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Might not want to say that to Callan Ridds right now. He's probably still stirring from that loss to James Wade
77.
in the quarterfinals. All about the 19s. 132 incoming. He'll settle for a 170 shot
133.
if he gets it.
Double 20. Well, would have given him a shot at the bullseye,
57.
but Connor Scott hoping to get a shot at it here off 2 treble 20s. He may do. He will do. The ball for the big fish.
145.
That would have been 170 checkouts in consecutive matches. He got one against Kist in the semis. Double top for Gary.
Game shot.
Don't count him out. A slow start from both, but now they really are starting to put something together.
I think that's 4 consecutive breaks of throw, isn't it, Paul? Every leg a break of throw.
A little bit of a running repair there for Gary as well. Probably just an imperfect flight that he needed to substitute.
100.
I think after the first couple of legs, we can forget about averages in this final. It's going to be all about the big moments.
100.
Been a brilliant year for Gary. Great start alongside Ryan Searle, who always seems to start a PDC season well.
57.
But winning on the European Tour after 10 years, who knows what Anderson could do between now and January 3rd.
140.
I think the only question mark over Anderson at this point is what could he possibly do in the longer format of darts.
180.
If it's best of 31 or more, or best of potentially 11 sets, for example, can he still do it at that level? Because
91.
we know he can do it at best of 11, best of 13, and best of 15.
92.
That's the question. So 170 on again. Another treble again. Oh, this is incredible. He wants the bull again. Oh, my word.
45.
Well, have you ever seen the like?
Oh, come on, Connor. If you want to find some fish, just go to Gary's Lakes.
Oh, and
Game
double
shot.
12. Much more manageable for Anderson, who holds throw to lead. But to miss 170s on the bullseye on
60.
consecutive legs is a rare sight indeed.
Well, Connor's done himself a lot of favours today.
85.
Not only has he won a lot of money by making the final and still having the opportunity to win, and it would be his first top-level PDC win as well.
100.
He's now in a very comfortable position for Minehead at the end of November at the Players' Championship Finals.
180.
He's in a provisional spot for the World Championship. He's jumped an inordinate amount of spots today. That will have repercussions on the
85.
Challenge Tour. But all of that stuff to the side, knowing Connor, as a lot of us do,
100.
he wants this win badly.
$100.
And if he does win, he will win on many different tours this year.
80.
Well, Connor is very creative, but you can only get this one way.
And seeing him get two treble 20s at the start of a finishing attempt twice in two legs, but not this
56.
time. And Anderson looking at 56 here to put two legs between him and his opponent. He does
Game
so.
shot.
There are
Wrong
many
player,
great
Tony.
athletes and sports people who sometimes make mistakes. He's just a bit too keen, and Gary sees the funny side of it. But sometimes you can be sluggish out of the blocks, and that's fine in a longer format game as long as you recover
95.
quite quickly. I remember watching the 1500 meters at the recent Olympics. And you had the likes of Jakob
140.
Ingebrigtsen trying to dictate the pace from the front. But then there were other people towards the back. And it was the person from the back
80.
in Cole Hocker who actually won the event. It's all about what you do in the last 100, metaphorically speaking.
100.
Halfway to the winning post now. Remember, he was 2-1 down in this contest, and 1-0 down for that matter.
80.
60 points ends up on the floor.
That could cost him the leg.
97.
That's good use of the board there from Connor. He'll go to the 19s with his first start in the next visit. But how valuable will it be
100.
that Anderson had 60 on the floor in the previous visit? If he'd hit it, it would have left 86, which is a lot easier than what he has right here.
60.
Stay there. Does so to leave double 13.
120.
Could not have been closer without going in.
Needs 3 more 16s. And tops.
Game
That's a
shot.
world-class finish from Scott. And boy, did he need that, because if he doesn't hit it, the gap could be 3. I think Anderson understands just how good Scott is.
Gary Anderson wiring double
57.
13 for a 146 finish. It would have put him 3 legs clear, 5-2. But with Scott going out for a 3-figure outshot of his own, gap is back down to a
55.
single leg, and Scott has the darts here. So anyone who thought Anderson was going to stretch clear, having gone 2 up at 4-2, has been proved wrong immediately.
58.
I don't think there's much pressure on Scott in this final. Whereas last year when he was up against the Paul Sikansky, I think there was pressure on him.
180.
It was seen as if he should probably win that final, with all due respect to Radek. But here, it's Gary that's expected to win.
125.
So Connor can open his shoulders a little bit more and feel that little bit of freedom that you sometimes need to win a title.
134.
His biggest issue is Gary really is starting to motor.
49.
And any mistake that Connor makes, it could be magnified.
$41.
Oh, it's sloppy.
$60.
And that's not enough. That will give Gary the luxury of using the 17s.
$51.
Just imagine the scenes if he hits this, though.
Oh, dear.
He does have options. He's going to go 19s. 6 of them would have left 38.
120.
It's an interesting choice. It didn't pay off. Anderson wants tops. That has
Game
paid
shot.
off.
Remarkable to think that before he won last year,
140.
there were years between floor victories for Gary. He was more successful on the big stages. The match play of the
60.
Worlds, making finals. That's why he was propped up inside the top 16 in the world. And ironically, he's winning more now as someone outside the top
60.
16. It's funny how the rankings work sometimes, because you've got two of the best players of the entire year in Littler and Anderson outside the top 16.
Well, Littler just hasn't had enough professional playing time to accumulate enough points to get him into the main order of merits top
180.
16 yet. But you talk about something being a matter of time.
He's also won more than £300,000 in non-ranking
Yes,
money.
good point. Premier League, for
140.
good example. World Series events. So in for double 14 for Anderson.
93.
And look what Scott has left, Paul. Have we seen him attempt this before, I ask myself?
Third time's a charm.
Surely not. Oh, again! The bullseye! Incredible!
145.
I think there's going to be an exchange between these two at the end, no matter what happens. And Gary's going to say, look, I own some fishing lakes. If you want a big fish, come to Somerset.
3 times in the same match.
Game shot.
He has missed the ball for 170, and Anderson makes him pay here on double 7. And that might be the biggest body blow of them all.
180.
Saw a game earlier, Paul, didn't we, when Connor Scott missed umpteen darts at a bullseye for big finishes?
100.
Yep, I was against Razma in the quarters.
That's right.
This time on the 9-dart attempt, he stays up top.
180.
He can't get a 170 finish. Can he get a 9-dart leg?
96.
Well, 141. Double 20. Oh, yes. Double 19. Can't find the 8th successful dart.
109.
Would have left double 12 for the 9th. But there have been bursts of the utmost brilliance from Connor Scott. There really has.
130.
And Anderson has had to be right at it, hasn't he? To hold
Game
him.
shot.
Now that 11-darter should serve as a warning to Anderson, because if he doesn't stay really, really focused for the rest of this final, Scott has definitely got gas in the tank.
60.
I think he was fully aware before, Paul, to be honest, because he's no fool, Gary Anderson, and he's seen what Connor Scott's been doing for the
57.
whole match. It hasn't just been that last leg or two, has it? I mean, it's been a terrific performance from Scott, which looks like being in defeat at this moment in time.
55.
But Anderson, as Paul rightly points out, is going to have to be on his game for another 2-3 legs to close the door on this young man.
55.
I think you make a very salient point there, Rod, because I don't think anybody's ever accused Gary of being stupid. He is one of the most astute individuals that any of us in this sport have
43.
ever come across. And I'm not just talking about darts. I'm talking about everything he does.
$98.
You can't leave a finish from 343, but you can put a big hole in it.
$96.
A holder throw here for Gary Anderson will put him to the cusp of victory. It'd be 7-4, and Scott would have to win 4 on the trot.
57.
If Gary wins the final, he'll become the 4th individual to win multiple Players' Championships this year. Dobey, Heta,
140.
Littler's got 3. To add to what's already a sickeningly good career.
87.
He's won at every level. It's not a shot at double 14 this time.
99.
147. Off again. 18.
129.
Wire for another whopping finish. On another day, he could have racked him up across the screen.
I get the feeling that Gary's really enjoying watching Connor. I think he'll enjoy beating him even more. One more leg and the final will be his.
Well, after those first couple of legs, when the averages were right down 60 odd, weren't they, Paul, with all those missed starts at double and what have you, and busting his score, Connor Scott, they've really rocketed up. It's been a high quality game if you ignore that second leg, I think it's fair to say. They're both averaging, well, 96, playing about 90 now, so.
I think it's fair to say that Gary would be well into 3 figures. Had the first couple of legs been a bit better. But since then, he really has motored.
Has.
60.
And looking now to finish it at the first opportunity by winning this 12th leg to win 8-4.
Is it fair to say, Rod,
100.
that if Connor wanted to win this finally, he had to hit all of those 170s? If he'd hit all 3, he'd be in front.
Well, he would, yeah.
180.
And the wiring of the 147 on double 18. But, you know, if he'd hit the first one, the 170s, we don't know what would have happened subsequently, do we? We'll never know what would have happened. But any of those 170 attempts could have changed the match. Bullseye. Gary Anderson wins it in style. A fitting finish, a fitting finale from the Flying Scotsman. Brings the curtain down on an entertaining day's darts and a fine final. Too hot for Connor Scott in the end. He led early on, Scott, but Anderson had too much class and pulled away to win by 4 clear legs at 8 legs to 4. And it's the second Players' Championship Pro Tour title of the year for Gary Anderson. As our colleague Chris Murphy sprints into view, and in a moment or two he'll be talking to today's champion, Gary Anderson, who's just doing the sound man's job for him. Doing a bit of a mic test. Over to you, Chris.
But to turn a bit towards the camera as well. Gary Anderson, winner again on the Pro Tour. Gary, best of 2 months off. How did that feel?
It's surprising me. Honestly, I've came here just to catch up with White and that, and have a game of darts today. But you know, I've been away doing a few exhibitions and that. You know, been busy doing other things. But I've come here, I felt all right. First couple of games. I think my first game I played well. Second game was a struggle, and against young Connor, he's a cracking little dart player.
He's good, and what were you thinking? He's missed the 173 times.
3 times, yeah.
The 147,
yeah, the
9 dart attempts.
Yeah, and he wired double 18 there in the last leg, and yeah, he's. I don't even think he's got his Pro Tour card, is he?
Not yet, no.
No. So you know he'll be one to watch. Like I say, I've been doing exhibitions, playing a lot of youngsters. I tell you what, the next 6 years are going to be eye-opening.
Have you found, you spoke about this before this season, the perfect balance now for you to get the best out of yourself?
I don't know. I just turn up and have a game of darts. You know, if it's I'm at that stage now. If I get beat, you know, it's not the end of the world. I get to go home early, and I've said it for a long time. You know, but you come here, you want to play. You know, you do try. There's a few games today that I've scraped past. You know, and playing Wadey in the semis, I played well. I thought if that goes in the final, we're in for, but never went quite as well. But like I say, young Connor, what's that? 2 finals already this year.
One semi, one final, but made a final
And
before
a final
as well.
again, yeah. So so it just shows if he's not got his tour card, he will have it next year.
For you, pretty much 100 average over the course of the day. As you say, there were a few bumps in the road, but you're used to them. You have to get through them to win tournaments. It's 3 this year now. Are you enjoying darts at the moment?
I just turn up and play. It's the only way I can describe it is, I've got no pressure. I turn up, play darts. If I lose, it's great. I get to go home. If I win, even better. We're still playing. So yeah.
Do you think that's part of it though? Because there are a lot of players that are examining ranking positions and things like that, trying to work out what they need to do to get into certain events, and you're just kind of here free rolling.
They do. I think once you start thinking about it, it's like any sport. They say the same about snooker. If you start thinking about what you've got to do in golf, I turn up and play. You can be playing the best darts of your life. You come up against somebody that's going to batter you 6-0. It doesn't do much for the confidence, does it? So if you turn up not expecting much, and it carries on for you, then it gives you a wee boost.
Does that mentality change at all when it comes to the major events
No,
later in the season?
no.
There is still a few you want to tick off your bucket list.
Oh yeah. I mean the Grand Slam, the Grand Prix, double start. That's one that I'm never supposed to win because it's can't hit them to finish with. Never mind start with. I love the Grand Slam, but listen, what will be, and it's one of these things. If it's your day on that day, it's going to be yours. But we'll see.
Are you going to turn up and play tomorrow?
Got a bad knee. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. Like I say, I've got to get home and I fly out to Ireland Thursday. So yeah, it's been busy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a good start. Well done today. Thanks for talking to us. Gary Anderson, winner of Players Championship 22, and he will be back in action for PC 23 tomorrow. We'll see you then. Top man, cheers, mate. Well
Not
played.
for long.
Cheers, Gary.